Welcome back into Evening Plus. Tonight we're talking about maintaining sobriety during the holidays. It can be tricky for those who are trying to stay sober, but there's some advice and some tips, some helpful information you can keep in mind to help that process go smoothly. I am joined by Nick Baer here in studio now, Wedgwood Associate Director of Clinical Services. Nick, thanks so much for being here tonight. This can be a tricky time of year for folks who are trying to maintain their sobriety, whether that's by choice or because that's the lifestyle they need to be living. As far as preparation ahead of time, to make holiday parties or holiday gatherings where you might have someone who's like, hey, have a drink, lighten up, things like that are common, but can be really difficult for some folks.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so we usually suggest for situations like that is to go in with a game plan. So usually people that are in recovery or have that recovery mindset have different preparation and different plans for those kinds of things.
Yeah.
That can include things like a lot of times we suggest folks to bring their own drinks. So having those kinds of things, having something there. A lot of folks, we suggest things like having mints or pocket candies or something like that. So you've got something to always do or something to always kind of occupy your mouth or something like that.
Yeah.
So do things can really help with that. And a big suggestion is to have an ally of someone in those holiday parties, someone that knows that you're in that recovery or you need that, so that you don't necessarily need to broadcast your entire situation to everybody there, but at the same time knowing that they've got a non-alcoholic drink for you or a non-substance drink for you or something like that, and to have other things there to enjoy that something that may not be triggering for you.
Yeah, and I feel like also having kind of a partner there, someone that if you're struggling a bit or in an awkward situation, someone there who's looking out for you and your needs and knows the details of your situation. If someone's faced with a scenario where, there's kind of a pressuring comment made to have a drink or, hey, have just one, something like that, that can be really uncomfortable for people involved and triggering as well. What's a great way to tackle that scenario?
Yep, so we encourage doing things called like safety planning, which is removing yourself from the situation. So removing yourself from that trigger, from that stimuli that might provoke a relapse or that kind of thing. So giving yourself the space to maybe say thank you, but then like stepping away, those different things, having a safe area to recover or those kinds of things there. Or in the ultimate situation, if you need to remove yourself entirely from the situation to protect your sobriety, that may be what's needed. And that's something that's a good, something to be kind of proud of to overcome.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point too. Holiday parties, work gatherings, what have you, can have a reputation of getting a little bit out of hand sometimes, getting a little wild with the drinking. And so, if you need to just see yourself out after a little bit of time there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I know something else you talk about, if this holiday season, a relapse does happen, which we know can happen and is very common. Taking, from that vantage point, how to move forward from there and get back on the right track. What does that look like?
Absolutely. So in recovery, we talk about how relapse is part of recovery. That is part of the steps of someone entering change and entering that recovery and sobriety. We as therapists look and talk with people to make sure that if a relapse occurs, that it's a slip, it's something to recover from, it's not an end, it's not a total recurrence. So that's something to really hold to see what you can learn from it, but not dwell on that and not let it continue sort of a spiral with that. And to give yourself the space and grace to recover.
Yes, absolutely. I know you put together sort of some great tips that I'm looking at here as far as how people can handle things. Anything else that you'd like to mention or any other details for people to know right now? Absolutely.
So it's perfectly fine for someone to say, even if they're pretty stable in their recovery, to look for support and assistance in that. Is that maybe looking out for therapists or recovery services there, that it doesn't necessarily need to be an active problem for something to seek support to.
Sure.
So if someone going into the holidays is nervous about sort of interactions, or they may be around people that were maybe provoked or when they were actively using, that they can speak to a therapist, speak to a counselor to come up with a game plan, come up with preparation for that. It doesn't necessarily need to be an active problem to do that.
Yeah, seeking out a meeting or seeking out, an ally that you have to, just prepare, again, like we talked about, preparing in advance so that it's not a heat of the moment situation that you're dealing with.
Absolutely.
If folks are looking to seek additional help, obviously you guys offer that at Wedgwood. How could they go about seeking help through your services?
Sure. So if they go to our website at wedgwood.org, they can get our contact information. We have immediate openings for services, so can see any number of people and with any number of payers or insurances or anything like that. So services are open, and we would love to connect with them.
Awesome. Nick, thank you so much for coming in and walking through this really important topic. It's one that I especially feel passionate about highlighting, so thank you so much for being here and talking with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.